Oh, and Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, that's Palestinian? Do you know what it is today? 80% Palestinian. It was 80% Christian. 10 years ago, it was 80% Christian. Today, it's 80% Palestinian. Where are all the Christians in the Middle East? Where they've gone to? You've Coptic Christians in Egypt. They are brutalized. They are second-class citizens. They don't live in freedom. The Christians that are left in Syria are being slaughtered. Who comes to their defense? The Israelis and Netanyahu, who attacks them. The whole world attacks them. You know, Bill Clinton, shockingly enough, he said something that is important for people to understand. And you can see he said it during the campaign, the Harris-Walz presidential, vice presidential race. And he said it, and it wasn't popular. And he may have walked it back, but I don't think he did. But I want you to hear what, believe it or not, what Bill Clinton had to say. Now, why is it important? Because Bill Clinton was up to his eyeballs trying to negotiate a two-state solution with Ehud Barak, who's a complete loser, and Arafat. And Ehud Barak had given like 95, 97% of what Arafat had asked for and demanded to Arafat, including a good chunk of Jerusalem, East Jerusalem. And when it came to signing it, he said no. Why? Why did he say no? Clinton's about to tell you. Go.
And the only time Yasser Arafat didn't tell me the truth was when he promised me he was going to accept the peace deal that we had worked out, which would have given the Palestinians a state on 96% of the West Bank and 4% of Israel, and they got to choose where the 4% of Israel was. So they would have the effect of the same land of all the West Bank. They would have a capital in East Jerusalem. They would have I can hardly talk about this. And they would have equal access all day, every day, to the security towers that Israel maintained all through the West Bank up to the Golden Heights. All this was offered, including, I will say it again, a capital in East Jerusalem and 2 of the 4 quadrants of the old city of Jerusalem, confirmed by the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and his cabinet. And they said no. And I think part of it is that Hamas did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable. Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before there was, their faith existed, they were there. In the time of King David, and the southernmost tribes had Judea and Samaria.
He's got most of it right. What he's saying there is very important at the end there. Judea and Samaria were there long before there was a single Palestinian anywhere even close to that area. Same with most of the Arabs. The Jews were the natives of that area until they were forced out. And that's the truth. And they came back and they were forced out again. The Babylonians destroyed the first temple in Jerusalem. There's the city of David, which is at the foot of Jerusalem. The city of David existed before Jerusalem proper. It's called the city of David because it was built by King David. Jerusalem was built by his son. Do you know the name of his son? King Solomon. You've heard of these names, maybe? King David, King Solomon. Yeah, it's a big deal. And so the first temple was built. Who destroyed the first temple? The Babylonians. Hundreds and hundreds of years later, the Jews came back. They built a second temple on top of where the first temple had been. The second temple. Who destroyed the second temple? The Romans. Now, why were these temples built where they were? Because they were at the highest point in the desert. The Temple Mount is the holiest place for the Jews. Why? It's where God spoke to the Jews. Right there. The Jews were forced out. Of the three great faiths, Judaism came first, followed by Christianity. About 700 years later, followed by Islam. How is it that the Jews are not the indigenous peoples? How is that even possible? You know what the Muslims did? They built a mosque right on top of the holiest of Jewish sites, the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount. And there it sits with the golden dome. And you know the Jews are not permitted there without approval and protection? On the holiest Jewish site, the Muslims built the mosque. And they claim that's their third or fourth holiest religious site. You know who controls it today? The Palestinians, who aren't even in the Bible. You know who protects it? The IDF. Protects it. Enforces the protection, in many cases against Jews going into the temple to prevent a war over that. Into the mosque, I should say. There's a lot of history there. That's why I go. When I go to Israel, I don't go to the more modern areas. I mean, sometimes, but mostly, I'm in the Holy Land. I'm at the holy sites. I'm at Hebron. Hebron. Who's buried in Hebron? Everybody's buried in Hebron, almost. The patriarchs. Maybe you heard of them. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're buried right there, as well as most of the matriarchs. Hebron. How is it that the Palestinians control the city of Hebron? How is it that there's only 85 Jewish families left? Why is it that the IDF has a massive presence there to protect the remaining 85 Jewish families? Abraham is buried there. He's in the Old Testament. When Clinton says the whole West Bank, that means Judea and Samaria, the birthplace of Judaism, where the tribes came together in what's called a tabernacle in a town called Shiloh. That is effectively the birthplace of what we consider Judaism. There were separate tribes, but they came together right there. That's Palestinian? Hebron is Palestinian? Where the patriarchs are buried? Seriously? Oh, and Bethlehem, where Jesus was born? That's Palestinian? Do you know what it is today? 80% Palestinian. It was 80% Christian. 10 years ago, it was 80% Christian. Today, it's 80% Palestinian. Where are all the Christians in the Middle East? Where they've gone to? You've Coptic Christians in Egypt. They are brutalized. They are second-class citizens. They don't live in freedom. The Christians that are left in Syria are being slaughtered. Who comes to their defense? The Israelis and Netanyahu, who attacks them. The whole world attacks them, including our envoy to Syria. The Israelis need to cut it out. We're trying to have natural relations with the Syrians, don't you know? Oh, I give history lesson after history lesson. History lesson after history lesson. But the whole world's not going to hear me. Most Americans aren't going to hear me. It's too bad. Bill Clinton knew enough. He said, the West Bank, Palestinians weren't there when the Jews were there. That's what he said. He was having difficulty in his presentation. But effectively, that's what he said. He said they weren't even there. This was all Jewish. And he's 100% right. Now, how many anchors on news programs in America tell you what I just told you in 5 minutes? Not one that I know of. Not one that I know of. You can go back to the Old Testament, the Torah is what we call it, and point by point by point by point. That's the history. You can go there now and touch it, see it, feel it. That's the history.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.